the green lights, and you keep going as fast as you want to right there. The yellow lights, proceed with caution. You know, and just really learn and be a part of your own journey. There's so many kids that are just like, oh, it's going to happen. You have to make it happen. You know, you can't just have somebody call a school for you and you think you're going to get a full ride scholarship and education. You have to take part in email, and you make the calls and text messages. Show that you're interested in it. You know about your recruiting process, and that's where I'm at with my training right now, is just getting more in these young men's mind. Their bodies are going to change, they're going to grow, as long as they're consistent with the workout. But now we got to tap into here, and it happened for them slowly but surely, consistently. You know, we built this thing brick by brick, and that's where I'm at right now with mine.
So let me ask you guys this, both of you. First of all, heck of a story, both of you. You know, it's just incredible, and I can see why both of you are as passionate about what you do as you are. So segueing on what you just talked about, Kevin, with the training, specifically with the young men now, there's a lot of training happening all over the country. You see people on YouTube, dads training even. So my question to you guys, can you talk a little bit about what's the difference between good training and not so good training? I'll put it that way. I won't necessarily call it bad. There is some bad training out there. Let's be honest, there is some bad training. So if you guys can talk about, you know, what does it look like to be a part of something that is a healthy, solid, credible training process with someone?
Okay. If you're a parent with, you know, no knowledge and you want to YouTube something just to get your kid going, that's always an option. But there is a science behind training. And for us, we need to be as educational and informational as we can with these young people and their parents. So I try to include the parents in as much as I can to let them know what their kid is doing. But first of all, you have to establish a baseline. You have to find out, you know, their strengths and their weaknesses. If you want, somebody might be stronger on their left side than they are on their right side, and you want to balance that out. Logging, loading, paying attention to detail on what they lift, how they lift. You got to max these kids out. Not the young guys, but if you're in high school, you got to figure out your 1 rep max and start building and lifting on your periodic table and your percentages and all that kind of stuff, man. You got to run. You know, if kids say they want to get faster and they're not running, they're lifting. I had a bunch of people, I just been doing bodybuilding. Well, that's what you should probably be. Right. Because you're not going to go out in the football field and have much success that way. Logging and loading everything, because if you can see it, you can track your progress, and then you can say, oh man, wow, this was me 6 months ago. This is me, 18. Like, look at that change. It's dramatic. So just, being there for the student athlete that way. And I mean, they don't have to do it. We'll sit there and write their numbers down. They just need to perform the lifts that we show them, and just really having attention to detail to the lifts and why you're lifting at this period of time, what you're lifting at this period of time, what it does for you on the field, on the basketball court. A little education on why you're doing that lift. You can't just say, I'm going to go to the gym. And I said to the young man, what'd you lift on? Oh, I did some curls and some. I'm like, how many times do you use your biceps in football? Right? So how about you hit your money makers in your legs? Well, I don't know what to do. So you sit down and you educate them on it. So just education, be educational and informational. In my deal.
One of the things, I think for a lot of us here today, when we were coming up, you played multiple sports, right? And a lot of that is starting to go away. I would be weary personally of going anywhere where that facility or individuals were living off of what other kids have done. Well, this kid went here and this kid went here, because that's not really what it's about. It's about getting the max out of that individual, right? Whatever he has or she has within them, trying to get that out of them, right? And the sky is the limit. The first thing they've got to understand is they can do anything, right? Don't put a limit. Oh, I can only run this fast, or no, you can do anything, right? So I would avoid any place, that would say, oh, we can get them here or we can get them there, because it's really not about that. It's about getting the max out of that individual. And I think from a parent, you got to be honest, right, with where your kid is, and you install into the kid that they can do anything, but you got to make sure that they're willing to give it, right? Because there are a lot of good trainers out there and a lot of good facilities, but that don't, say, oh, we can get your kid here, or we can get your kid there. But you've got to be honest. Like one of my things is, I have sickle cell, right? And there's a lot of people in African American community that don't even know they had it. I didn't figure out I had it until I was a rookie in the Canadian League. All that time, right? At any point in time, I could have been boom, right? Because there are limitations, that I physically should do, right? There's things that I should do, and you can do the most things, but there's certain you got to know when to stop, right? And if the trainer or on the other end, is trying to push past, some natural barriers like that, death can happen. That's how bad it can be.
I think that's where you talk about baseline, because you not only do you just, not the maxing aspect of it, but have you ever trained before? What capacity have you trained at? Do you have any injuries? Do you have any ailments, asthma, sickle cells, anything? Because this is going to be grueling, and we need to know how to respond to anything. If you fall out, I had a kid when I was coaching, not too sure what was going on with him, but he would just pass out. And he had to go to the doctor and then figure out his deal, and he was able to continue to play. I had another kid that would just cramp tremendously all the time. And again, I'm not a doctor, we're going to send you to your doctor, figure it out, and now we can train you appropriately for you to still get the maximum out, because you put in, or you get out what you put in, sweat equity, you know what I mean? So that, you see these training facilities now, and there's a bunch of kids and they're working hard and they're doing some really good things, but you don't know their history, right? And now when that happens and they fall out and you don't know how to help them, you're taking time off, right? And until the medics and the fire gets there, and if you know from that baseline, with his first day coming in there, okay, this is what's wrong with him. We know how to treat it until we get professionals here, and that's key. That's really key piece in training. So.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you guys. So, I have also another question as far as training goes. What do you feel like is the proper age for training to begin? Because I hear a lot of parents say, well, my child is too young for that. You know what I mean? I don't think that their body is mature, physically can handle that. So, what do you guys feel the proper age is?
For me, there's a lot of, training covers a broad spectrum, right? My daughter is 6, right? And I do training things with her. Right now, she squatting and doing, no, she's not, but I can help her do assisted push-ups. Right. I can help her work on her some of our auxiliary muscles. I can help her with her core, do a lot of things with footwork. All of those are things that you can be, like I said, she's 6, right? And my 3-year-old follows around and does the same thing. He tries to do his push-ups. So there's functional training where basically their body is the weight, right? And that function, and through that, you're not putting too much on them, right? Because you're not adding a bunch of weights or anything on there like that. So I really think, that functional training, using their own body as the weight per se, for younger kids. Putting an age on it is tough, right? Because I've seen 12-year-olds that are 6'4", 270 pounds and done growing, right? And then I've seen other kids who are, maybe 5'3", and they're 13, 14, and the next thing you know, they shoot up to 6 foot. So you've got to be extremely, extremely, careful with the methods that you use and when you start using them. It's tough, I think, to put a number on it. Me personally, I didn't start lifting weights until I got to high school. Right, and by the time I got to high school, I was done growing, at least that way. I was actually done before then. But I don't think an introduction, or introduction to functional training earlier, I think all of that would have been great, right? If the supervision was there. Again, I'm at a junior back then. I'm at a junior high school with a PE teacher. You don't want that guy. You need somebody who understands. Kind of Kevin's point with that baseline, and looking at a kid coming in and saying, okay, well, this kid isn't, he's not really, or he or she isn't ready for this yet. But here's, there's a lot of things that we can do to help them develop some of that core strength, you know, before you start introducing them into, you know, some of the more traditional lifts and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Again, educational and informational. Explain to them at an early age why you squat, what it works on, what it does is its explosiveness. What, you know, and the kids will start adapting. I think you can pour tons of information on these young kids' minds, and they'll receive it. But as far as the age, I don't think you can pinpoint an age. I have my 5-year-old working on running mechanics, and it's one of his favorite things to do. And he's, should I try to hit on it with the high school guys and they run and they get tired and lose their form? Shoot, he's 4 years old,
Right.
and he's keeping his form,
Right.
which is making him faster, and you can see it. So I mean, you're not just pouring weights on these kids. There's different levels of training. For me, I'd say if you want to talk about lifting weights, I'd say around 10 years old is all right, as long as it's light. You know, and they can rep it with great form, and then followed by stretching and joint mobility, because that's the piece that parents really don't know. That is going to keep them long and lean, and you know, we want to talk about their growth plates, but we actually don't know what their growth plates are going to do. We don't know. Scientists don't even know. You know, that's higher power stuff. You know, so they can perform some lifts, and that just resistance is the way. If you want to get faster, resistance. You know, for high school guys, you got to squat 2.5, 3 times your body weight to get faster. You got to do a lot of resistant running to get faster. So just, you don't want to say, okay, we're doing this now in high school, and the kid has no clue how to engage his core, how to hinge his hips, any of that kind of stuff. Ankle flexation. You know, I have my 4-year-old working his ankles. You know, he knows how to do it and why he's doing it. And now when you want to go squat, he's going to be able to get the proper depth. You know, he asked me, Dad, today I got a cramp right here. Do I need to stretch right here? You stretch right there, just like that.